The Trauma Research Foundation is so happy you've joined Inspired Parenting, parenting from an attachment and trauma perspective with the exceptional Dafna Lender. Whether you are a parent or interact with children in other capacities, you'll find the tools and information in this session encouraging and useful. Today's topic is how to handle behavior problems like lying, stealing, and aggression from an attachment perspective. A key feature of these 75-minute inspired parenting sessions is the interactive question and answer time with Dafna. You get to join her on screen to talk through your question. To that end, we'll be looking for volunteers. If you volunteer, we'll invite you to turn on your video, but you're also welcome to use your audio only. Either way, we'll need to promote you to panelists, so you'll accept the invitation and go live. Anyone who would like to volunteer can raise their Zoom hand throughout the session and keep it raised. Bear in mind, this is a public webinar, so be cautious to protect the individuals you discuss. And as a quick notice regarding potential sensitive content, this is a live, unscripted webinar, and there may be topics, language, or stories shared that could be sensitive for some participants. We'll also practice mindful listening and turn off the chat for much of the webinar today to reduce distractions and help you stay present with the material. I'm Mary Frangi and I produce Inspired Parenting. I'm joined by Connor McCann working quietly behind the scenes. And it's now my great pleasure to introduce you to Dafna Lender. Dafna is a family therapy expert and attachment specialist. Dafna is an international trainer and supervisor for practitioners who work with children and families. Dafna's expertise is drawn from 30 years working with families in many settings, including at-risk after-school programs, therapeutic foster care, in-home crisis stabilization, residential care, and private practice. Dafna is the author of The Integrative Attachment Family Therapy and the co-author of TheraPlay, the Practitioner's Guide. She teaches and supervises clinicians in 15 countries and 4 languages, including English, Hebrew, French, and Spanish. Oof, Dafna, we're so happy you're here. Thank you. Take it away.
Hey, thanks a lot. Thank you, Mary and Connor. Hey, everybody. I have spent the majority of my career working with families who have been affected by foster care and adoption. So kids who have histories of abuse and neglect. And what that privilege has given me is working with kids who have severe behavioral and emotional problems and attachment issues and trauma. So I figure that the things that I've learned from those families can help everybody. And at the same time, some of my examples in my mind are extreme, and you may feel like they're not the same as the ones that are happening in your family. So just toggle the measuring stick down to the middle, and you'll be able to gauge what to do. Just know that we're coming from an attachment and trauma perspective. That's what we're talking about today. So, what are these behaviors of lying, stealing, being aggressive, being mean? What do those have in common? They're very much moral issues. Okay. A moral issue is a rule in society that if you don't follow it, you're going to be excluded, you're going to be punished, you're going to be deemed that you are not acceptable in the larger society, right? And parents and adults and teachers and aunts and uncles, grandparents, whoever you are, you're concerned about that. And that is one of the fundamental things that a parent has to do is to teach the child right from wrong, protect the other children, and help the child to grow up to be able to have and keep a job, have friends and a partner, be able to exist in society. And many times, even when the kid is 4 years old or 6, when a child is stealing or lying or being mean, parents, and especially if they get once they get older, parents are worried that what if he continues to do this when he's 10 or 12 years old or 14? What if he gets in trouble in the community and he's arrested for these behaviors? What if he seriously hurts other people? I'm a failure as a parent. And the cascade of feelings of worry and guilt consume parents. And this gets in the way, as understandable as it is, it gets in the way of being able to work with your child in the here and now and be able to see what the child really needs in the here and now. And so when I work with parents, the first thing I'm going to do when I work with families, I have to sit with you as a parent and I have to ask you what goes on in your mind and heart. What do you see in the image in your mind when you think of your child cheating in a game or that they lied to you blatantly? What happens to you? And do you say, okay, I have failed, or this is exactly what I was most afraid of, or, and everything's going to be terrible for this child, or I have failed as a parent? Those things that you're saying to yourself about yourself, I'm not saying that you don't have real concerns, but the screen that you see your child through is colored by your own fears that are also related to your own history. So in attachment theory, we know that our history it transfers onto our child in such a way where we see our child through the lens of our triggers and our wounds. And they come out when we're most triggered with our child. And so in the model of attachment focused work, we first have to say, what are you saying to yourself about yourself, and regulate yourself and have the capacity to deal with, then you'll have the capacity of dealing with things in the here and now and be able to see your child a lot more accurately and what they need in that moment. Because what they need in that moment, you're seeing a child, and one moment they might need a consequence, and another moment they might need validation, and another moment they might need a sensory break, and another moment they might need your sense of humor. Another moment they might need you to ignore it. And let me tell you something. You have the capacity in your mind and in your heart, you have the capacity to be able to see and evaluate what your child needs if you're able to calm and regulate those voices. And sometimes they're demonizing voices that are really, really loud, and you get very caught up and very anxious. So I always start with that. Another reaction that parents have is actually not feeling like, oh, I'm guilty, I'm the worst parent in the world, but I am really angry at my child and I'm going to lash out at them and show them, give them a piece of my mind and really punish them. And it actually feels good that you're able to yell at your child and, really berate them. And that is also, that's a trauma reaction from your own history or from fear from yourself. So the way that works is you have to take a look at whether you have been subjected to the kind of shame and humiliation that you vowed you would never do to your children, where as a young child you felt this sort of sense of feeling very small. And as a way of coping with that, you feel like your parent won because they humiliated you and you were powerless. And you vowed you're never going to have that experience again. You'll never do that to your kid, and you'll never let anybody do that to you. And as a child learning that, you may decide, okay, I'll never do that to my child. And yet, because of that really younger part of you where you're actually boundaryless, like you cannot tell the difference between yourself and your parent, you just know they won. When we try to metabolize that and we try to somehow overcome that, we identify with that aggressive part in our parent who won. We want to win as well. And when our child is triggering us, we get triggered. That is, so it's like we try not to repeat what has been done to us, but that part that is triggered, that wounded child in us, will bring out an aspect of a more sort of aggressive part of us, and it feels good. It feels good to do that. What then happens, though, is we get caught in a cycle. We usually then have to go back and repair that, and our child has seen that as a pattern, so we get stuck in this dance with our child. In that case, when I work with parents, I really want to be able to slow you down and help you to identify what happened to you and for you to be able to have compassion for your younger self. Because that moment of pause where you need to realize I have to take a break, I have to take myself out of the situation and come back when I'm more regulated is the work. It is the work. So, kind of blowing up some of what people may come into therapy for as parents, you usually are hoping that a therapist will help your child to learn coping skills and behave better, and that you'll uncover what's going on with the child's issues. But actually, this has got to be the premise. This is the premise. The relationship is the client, it's not the child. So even if the child has ADHD, autism, PDA, OCD, it doesn't matter. I'm happy to look at the diagnosis, but the relationship is also frequently a contributor, and it's your only leverage is how you change. So you can't change your child, you can change yourself, you can control the environment for sure, up until a point. Okay, because when a kid, you can control the environment when your kid is 8, but when your kid is 12 or 14, you're unable to control the environment. And so the locus of change has to be this has to be within inside of you. And so one of the things that I want to kind of blow up is to revise the idea that you're somehow going to find a solution for your child by doing X, Y, and Z. You have to change yourself. You have to look inside. You have to see what part of you is is playing into this formula of the behavior issue that your child is exhibiting. So that's my big overall preamble or message to you is I'll always start with you as the caregiver because, as I said, there is no such thing as a child without a parent. There's only a child in the gaze of their parent, and they're always interacting with you and looking for an interpretation. What is my parent thinking of me at this moment? Okay, so I am also I'm so aware that this topic is incredibly broad. Lying, stealing, and aggression is like saying, how many stars are there in the universe? There's so many permutations of problems related to lying, stealing, and aggression. So I would rather take your questions and deal with we need specifics. So I'm inviting you to get ready if my topic is piquing your curiosity about your own situation and you want to ask a question, please get ready, raise your hand. Mary will then change your status to panelist because that's the only way you can turn on your camera. If you want to then only turn on your microphone and not your camera, I'm very happy to do just the audio. And then, but there, we can have a little bit of back and forth. Okay, so if you go on social media, if you go on Instagram and you type in any behavior problem or any diagnosis, you will get a lot of really good advice about what to do about a kid who, let's say, steals or lies, or when you say that you need a timeout and you walk away, that they follow you, things that people are dealing with in this room, right? And I'm happy to give advice about that, but I want to see because it's easy, it's actually pretty easy to give advice about what to do. Okay. When your child does X, you should do Y. There's a lot of prescriptions there that are really reductive. And I don't want to do that here because I really believe that underneath the behavior, there is meaning and there's communication. There's something that the child is trying to say, something that they need. And it isn't necessarily that we have to ask them, why are you doing this? Because they can't understand it. But I do think that you as a parent have the capacity to be able to think through that and possibly with curiosity be able to ask them to inquire about it when the child is calmer, like when you're driving in the car or when they're playing or when they're after the point where they've recovered from, the dysregulation or the rupture or whatever the conflict is. Curiosity. Okay. So what is the meaning underneath a behavior? Why does a child feel the need to steal something from their parent, from their sister's room when they have the exact same thing in their room? Why do they feel that they need to lie when you know that they got in trouble in school because the teacher or the principal actually called you? So the first thing I want to tell you is when you know that a child has done something wrong, it's important not to set them up to lie by asking whether, did you do this? When a child says, no, I didn't, it's as though now they're in trouble twice because first they did the thing and you know they did it. And second, they lied to you to your face. When a child does that, it gives you a sense of, I feel incredibly betrayed. I have no trust in you. And that it is a tremendous wound to the parent. It makes you feel terrible. And I get that. There's a tremendous rupture there. And so your instinct is to say, why are you lying to me? What would motivate you? Either you're really morally damaged, or maybe I'm not a trustworthy parent. You also make me feel like a fool. There's so many consequences and layers to when a child lies to you. What I want you to start with is to realize you know the truth. Oftentimes you actually do know the truth, and you're not there to argue about the truth. You know it. You may state it once, and then if the child is arguing with you about it, then you're going to simply say, hey, guess what? I'm not going to continue to argue with you about I'm not doing a fact finding. This is the situation. We're moving forward from this. And you're going to, if you need to make a decision about a consequence, a natural consequence, like that they have lost their privilege for the iPad for the day or whatever other consequence, you need to administer it without them agreeing on what happened. There is no need to agree. And the idea is that you're you're letting them know it's okay for me to be the authority figure here and to know better than you. Because from the attachment point of view, a secure attachment involves a parent who is authoritative, who is confident, who is not afraid of executing whatever structure, whatever boundaries need to take place, to be able to put those in place without the child being happy about it, and that it doesn't mean to the parent that I am now on unstable ground. I'm really nervous about this. Now I have to make it up to the kid, and now I have to be really solicitous. There's a confidence that needs to happen where you're going to make the decision based on what you know. And this, easier said than done. I realize that. But the primacy, your emphasis can't always be on feeling connection with the child. That's a real counterintuitive message all over social media, all over. The messages is that you have to do connection before correction, and you have to get the child's connection in order for them to be motivated to cooperate. I get that. I think that's really overstated, though. I am talking about many, many kids for whom with whom connection is really hard, really hard. In fact, they actually are afraid of connection. They are intimidated by it. The more you try to reach out for connection and the more solicitous or soft or understanding you are, the more they actually are frightened of you because to them, the tenderness or the desire to connect is your intentions to connect are a sense, create a sense of dread. She's going to get to know me. She wants to be close to me. And I have a lot of dark and black feelings inside. I'm not going to be able to maintain this. I might get hurt. These are not things that they can articulate, but there are feelings that these children have. And so actually being able to be more measured, more confident, more removed is it, and when I say removed, I don't want you to think that I'm you're going around acting like a drill sergeant and that you're ignoring them. No, you need to be able to not seek a kind of validation from your child that your consequences or that your leadership are okay with them. And that is a really tough lesson for a lot of people. A lot of people. Many people are looking to become parents and be parents because you want to feel the closeness, you want to feel the union, you want to feel that sense that I am validated as a really good parent. And this is my practice. My practice is full of people who are devastated by the knowledge that their child is not validated, not validating them, that their child feels really pretty disconnected, and that it's chronic and it's been lasting a really long time. And I want to tell you something. I think that's a very sober reality that we need to accept more than is put out there in our society. That as a parent, you need to be able to have a source of self-esteem, of validation, a sense that you are on the right track from somebody other than the child with whom you're having the conflicts. And this is this is the direction that I'm steering parents who are having a lot of problems with their kids, behavior problems like such as these, these really big these issues because of the idea that's been fed to us so much in psychology and in the media and social media that we have to really prime up and continue to talk about connection, connection, connection with a child who doesn't want it. So once again, this might seem counterintuitive to attachment theory. However, to me, once you let go of wanting, if it's fueled by validation that you're looking for and by I want to get success and I want to get connection going, once you let go of that and look for validation elsewhere and feel more confident that you can administer a consequence, a natural or logical consequence, your child may actually come closer to you because they see you as somebody who is self-respecting. So I really want to bring up this part of the parent who has self-respect and can stick up for herself and who has really good boundaries. That to me is just as important as a parent being able to connect through touch, through playfulness, through just doing stuff together, just because we know that this is something that we both like doing together and it's not contingent on whether or not you behave well or not. I am absolutely advocating for that. So you can be really, really, this kid can be have you've had a lot of conflicts and been having to put a lot of consequences, but I still encourage you to wake up on Saturday morning and say, "Hey, I'm going on a bike ride, and I'm eager for you to join me." Okay. So definitely both, but the a good manager is just as important as a good connector in the parent framework. And if you've ever been a manager at work, you have to be detached from whether or not your employee, your supervisor likes you. So that's one of the things I really want you to be able to think about is being able to trust that you know when your child is lying, and if you need to administer a consequence, you can just say, "Hey, guess what? I got a call from the principal and she told me that you threw a shoe at your teacher on the playground." And just state it matter of factly. If you get a child who blows up at you and says, "No, that's not true," and starts kicking and says, "You never believe me, you always blame me," that's okay. That initial reaction is okay. You have to be able to ride that out. You have to be able to see it as kind of a wave with a cascade of like the crest and then the decrescendo. And then you're not you don't argue about the details and the facts, because most of the time when a teacher tells you or principal tells you that the kid threw a shoe, they did it, right? Okay, or if you know that they took the iPad from their sister's room, you know that's the case. And the reaction, whatever they say, "I hate you, you're the worst parent in the world, I'm going to kill myself," I would see that more as a physiologic reaction to the discomfort and the shame. And sometimes it's actually manipulation as well. So don't always think this is dysregulation, dysregulation, dysregulation. It's not always dysregulation. It is actually sometimes manipulation on purpose. But it doesn't, it's okay. It could be half and half. It doesn't matter. Um, what you're going to do is argue less and do not react to the little sort of points, like the pointed remarks that they say of, "You never believe me, I don't know what the point of talking to you is," or if they toss something and they throw something around. That isn't something that you need to react to. You can see it like just as it's an allergic reaction to the fact that they are really, really uncomfortable with being told the truth. And yeah, you have to be judicious about it, but you do have to tell them the truth about what you know, because teaching them responsibility is part of being a parent. Totally. Teaching them responsibility and responsible behavior is a part. Okay. So when they have some sort of big reaction, that part you ignore, and not in the sense of stonewalling them and giving them a flat affect, just saying, "Yep, I hear you, and we're going to get through this." And if they insist that you say, "You don't believe me, do you? You never believe me," say, you can just tell them, "You know what? At this point, I'm not gonna argue about who's right or wrong. We're moving forward and we're gonna go on to the next thing, because it's not productive to talk about this at this time." Okay. So how do you say that to a kid when you're dealing with this part where they're screaming at you and saying, "You never believe me"? A lot of it is not what you say, but how you say it. What do I mean by that? Is physiologic. Okay, so I'm going to back up a little. Why am I backing up? I want to tell you something about your own physiology. When you're dealing with a kid who's creating a storm because they're mad, they're upset, they're in a shame mode, they're dispelling, just sort of just displacing their energy, what matters is your torso, your neck, your face, and your arms. I may even take off my scarf in order to illustrate the point. It's gotten warmer, much warmer here. in this last half hour. So when you're in a conflict with somebody, oftentimes you become frozen or you become really constricted in your throat. And the other person, the kid, can see that. They see that you're stressed and that it feels to them like you can't manage. They're afraid, and it escalates. It makes the situation worse. I want you as a person to believe that you can be more present and regulate your behavior in a conflict and notice a few things. So first of all, I would, if I were you in the situation, I would notice my breath by putting my hand on my heart or a little bit lower. I would also put my hand on my abdomen, and I'm suggesting that you do that now. I'm not even telling you how to breathe. I'm not even a big fan of how to breathe. When you're able to notice your breathing, you're able to regulate it more. And so what I would do is suggest that you count to the count of 8 and notice your breathing, and you don't have to react to the child. Take some space and time. Time is actually your friend. I want you to then notice that your face may look frozen, which is a signal to the other person's physiology, the child's physiology, that you are either scared or angry. What you want to do then, so you've taken care of your breath by breathing and not constricting your breath, holding it. Okay. The next thing I want you to do is have movement in your face. What does that mean? So you may feel so frozen that you literally feel like you lost control of your face muscles. That totally happens to me. It's happened to me in my conflictual relationships, and it feels terrible. And I want you to know that you can override it. Having movement in your face means if you're able to wiggle your ears, then set your ears back. Some people are. It's a little, I guess it's genetic, whether you can wiggle your ears or not. But that is able to make your temples a little, and your face, your cheeks a little bit more taut, so that it's not droopy. Do that on purpose. Also, open your eyes a little bit and raise your eyebrows a little bit, turn your head a little bit, and be able, and also, if at all possible, evoke the image of a very warm person in your life, or your dog, when you open the door and your dog wags his tail and is enthusiastic to see you. You have to imagine the image of somebody warm in your life in order to evoke more warmth in your eyes and in your face. This feels to some people like you're during a circus act. It's like impossible. I'm here to tell you it's not impossible. You can actually evoke an image and change your facial expression by using your face, raising your eyebrows a little bit. It doesn't have to be so dramatic that you look like a clown. I just want you to be able to have some movement in your face. And then I want to see if whether or not you can stand a little bit to the side instead of looking straight at the person. So by making an angle, you're having a little bit less of a sort of intimidating presence. You can try to move your hands as you're explaining something a little bit. Shoulders, not frozen, really helps. The child senses, okay, my mom doesn't think this is a big deal. She can handle this. She's cool. That is a really good signal to the child that'll help them to come down on that other side of the sort of, when I think of a tantrum, I think of a cascade. When you put a consequence and they're angry at you and they say all these things or throw something. Okay. So standing in with your shoulders back. Also, notice that your arms are, especially for kids who might throw something or are aggressive, you have a area around you that you are in charge of what comes in. And your force field or the shield has to do with your arms being able to be mobile and protective. So I would never ever sit back and have my arms just flaccid on my sides. I want to have movement so I can be able to ward them off or bring them in. Okay, if I know a kid is coming at me because they're upset because they're aggressive, I want to be able to take their shoulders and have them and give them like a squeeze on their joints or be able to turn them and direct them. I'm not just absorbing it in a static position. There's a dynamic here. And I want to be able to let the child know I can handle your physicality. Okay. If a kid's coming at me and they did hurt me, despite my effort of being erect and having this awareness, um, it, it's better for you to transmit to them by just saying, "Hey, I'm not going to hurt you, and I'm not going to let you hurt me," in a confident way, and not get too wrapped up in the fact that they threw something at you right then or that it really hurt. I mean, it certainly your reaction to say "ow" is normal. And I'm not suggesting that you don't have a natural reaction, but and you say, "Hey, that's not okay. I'm gonna take a time out right now. You're gonna go in the other direction." And if the child is following you, um, I would not slam a door or, never get into a power struggle about an object like a door, or if they've gotten hold of something like your phone, don't try to grab it out from them. If they follow you, the best thing to do, first of all, you're going to walk with confidence. If they're grabbing you, I would stop. I would stop in my tracks. Stop. Look at them, but don't say anything. That freaks them out. They want to know what's up. And you've changed a lot. Then you say, "I'm going in this direction and you're going to stay here and play with your Legos," or whatever you're going to assign them to do. If they still follow you, I need you to go and do something. You go to your room. If that's where you're going and they're following you, you say to them, I'm folding this laundry now, and then I'll talk to you. I don't care what it is. You have to make it up. Open up your sock drawer and organize that. What I need from you is to be able to transmit to them, "I have confidence and I have purpose. I'm in control of this and I'm not scared of you. We will get through this in a really good way. And I'm not paralyzed." That's the message that I want to be able to transmit to a child. Now, some people are saying, "I've done this and I've done it pretty well, and I think I'm sort of emulating what you're saying. I'm doing what you're saying, and it doesn't stop, and I get hurt, and I'm being really worn down." If that is the case, I hear that a lot, that there isn't that much, sometimes there isn't that much that you can do from your own personal physiology of what you're saying to yourself about yourself, all the things that I've been talking about. We really have a situation where the child is out of control, is dangerous. They have an untreated diagnosis, or there's trauma that's way too overwhelming in their body. Um, at that point, you really need to think about how you're going to get more support at home. You shouldn't be alone with a child who hits you all the time, and that no matter how regulated you are, or how confident, or how playful, or how authoritative, and all the things that you're doing, they don't work. You need to bring in another person. You can't be alone with that person. So you might have to get really creative and have some sort of scenario where you reduce the amount of time that you're with the child alone. It might be a neighbor, it might be a babysitter, it might be some sort of respite, it might be a bartering system. It may be that you know, there's people have to get really creative, but the thing that I want you to know is when a child is hitting you and coming at you, there's a limit, a limit when it's chronic, there's a limit to how much you're able to regulate yourself and reset. And you need time. Sometimes it's 4 hours, sometimes it's 2 hours, sometimes it's 8 hours, sometimes it's a week or 3 days where you need to get away from the child. And it's a very real, honest reality that in that situation, you have to look for creative ways to not be that sole parent. So I wanted to put that out there that these solutions only go a a certain way, but not all the way. And that one of the biggest remedies sometimes is a structural remedy where you are not exposed to the child's aggressive behavior and the constant neediness or the arguments in, for 8 hours or 12 hours at a time. That might, or for a week at a time. Okay, so let me invite people to get into the specifics. I'm happy to take questions and give more examples.
Great. We have Margaret here.
Okay. Hi.
Hello.
Margaret.
Thank you so much for everything so far. We've definitely have some good takeaways so far. We have a situation where we have two different households, and at the other household, there's some severe trauma bonding. And to use your words earlier, I think some severe validating going on with that parent, and other issues and at the other house. And a lot of times situations will happen there, like involved this past weekend with putting gasoline in a water bottle and his friend splashing it on his sister, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And the households are completely different. And he does some stuff here too with some lying and stuff like that. And I know your advice that you just gave, and we can try to be consistent here as much as we can. I
Mhm.
think the biggest things for us is how to manage both situations when he's there versus here. And then the other thing that kind of worries me is he's 11 and he is extremely regulated. Like he never gets dysregulated externally. That's not to say that internally he's not, but externally he will not cry, he will not yell, he has very little empathy. And it's kind of a red flag to us that maybe there's more going on there, that he has absolutely no reaction, like at
Mm.
all. Like he
Mhm.
doesn't,
Sure.
he just very matter of fact, okay, like, but he will lie if you ask. So I love the advice to not even put him in that situation. That was like a super aha moment here, but we just don't know. I mean, how do you handle when there's two households like that?
Oh
And he
gosh.
is in
Yeah.
therapy, by the way, for the empathy and that sort of thing.
Oh, okay. Well, I wouldn't really expect him to have empathy. I'll tell you what I mean though by that. But what you're saying is, and I'm reading into this, you don't have to tell this specifics. I think you're protecting the identity, but that there's like two households and it might be, two like two divorced parents or something like that where you wish you had control over the other home and you don't, you only can deal with what you have there, right? Am I right? Yeah. And I don't know the frequency of like how often they go to the other parent,
It's a
if it's
50-50.
50-50. Yeah, so
So they're
that.
here 50% and they're 50%, but we're trying to hold him accountable. But some of the stuff, we're not there. So we,
Oh, okay. So one of the things you said was, there's extremely traumatizing behavior that is happening in the other house,
yes,
which is um absolutely, from what you just said, something that child protection would be involved in. And
they are.
I'm not, okay, so I'm
Yeah.
not gonna go to
No.
I'm not telling you what to do about that. I'm just saying the level of trauma that he's exposed to on an active basis, it's not a one-time thing, I'm assuming. And
Mhm.
so what happens is that the alarm in him is always on, always, because he's going back and forth. And so by him being involved in both being the perpetrator, I'm not sure if he was the perpetrator of the gasoline thing or witness to it, it makes you feel like you're both a perpetrator and the victim. Okay. And so you go from when you're out of that situation, you know you're going to come back, so you never actually have a chance to relax. He always is going back into that situation. And you said did you say he's 12 or 14?
He's 11.
11. Okay. So in the younger you are, even 11, you can't even tell the difference between your parent and you when they do something like any domestic violence. It's extremely hard not to internalize that. So then he comes back to your house and then he's acting sort of, as you said, kind of really regulated. Well, that would mean to me that he's more in that dorsal state and from the polyvagal theory where he's shut down. He's just shut down, waiting for the next time that something bad is going to happen, where he's afraid that he's going to go into some sort of um, um, like, more activated thing and do something that a perpetrator would do. And he's trying to tamper that down. And he is definitely going to lie. And he can't have empathy because empathy would mean that you have a relationship with the other person. When you're in dorsal, when you're shut down and when in withdrawn because you're in that situation of being like, it's beyond freeze, it's dissociation, then you are not really able to do the relationship bit of being like, this is how it affects you. This is how it affects me. This is how we're doing this together. I care about how you feel. It isn't possible in here. So if I can't touch into myself, then I can't have empathy for the other person. So what does that mean? It means you're parenting somebody in active trauma. And so in those 5 days that he's with, we don't even need to know the details, but in the 5 days, however long he's with you, the amount of times that you can model to him connection or empathy has to be in doses that are this big. Okay. So it could be just like he put the ketchup back in the fridge after he used it, and then you like tussle his hair. Um, you do not you require certainly require chores or whatever it is that the family does. He's not exempt from on any of those things, but I would essentially never ever use any moral language about like you're not empathic or anything like that, or you're not following the rules, so you're not a family member, you're not a team player or something like that. You just give the most simple explanation of a logical consequence of like, well, you didn't when you pick up your room, you'll be able to play outside, whatever the contingent is, and nothing about morality, if possible, because since he can't access morality, because he can't access his integrated self, he's shut down. What it's just going to do, it's either going to fly right over him or it's just going to fill up more of that bucket of shame, and he'll just say, that's okay, I don't care anyway. It feels like numbness, but inside it's either I'm worthless or I'm gonna, um, one day I'm going to burn this place down. And he's keeping it all to himself. And the more you can involve him in activities that are physical, where he has a sense of meaning from contributing, I don't know, what you can do, but things that you can build together, things that you can make together, build together, whatever, build something outside, like make something like food, take care of animals, contribute by volunteering at a food pantry or a homeless shelter. Those are the things that give those kids meaning. And those are, if you're in active trauma, those are almost the only things. Um, and the other thing is to just let that therapist know that we don't actually expect him to work on empathy in the sense that he can certainly the therapist can certainly work with him on responsibility and about connection and relationship, but if he's in active trauma, um, we won't be able to get him relaxed enough to start really peering in and seeing like what this all means to him. So it has to be more supportive psychotherapy than it is really expecting skill building.
Makes sense. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Oh,
Hi, Karen.
hi, I lost you. Oh, there you are. So, first I was gonna make a comment. My daughter, when she was younger, when she was overstimulated, overstressed, she would steal. And it would be the smallest little thing, stickers off the teacher's desk. Actually, one time she took the teacher's keys. But we just made it so everybody knew that if we started to see this, there was something else going on in her system and we needed to readjust.
Love it so
And it
much.
ended up working out. However, now I'm dealing with her daughter. And she's a lot of similarities, but now her triggers are more of the complete and total meltdown outbursts. I have to do it my way. I don't care if you just told me no, and we're not going to stop. Nothing's going to change until I get through doing what my brain says I need to do.
Mhm.
And then that turns into the battle, which I am trying to stop doing the battle, and we're not doing this right now. Kind of cock, like what you were just talking about. But then sometimes she'll turn around and she'll push her younger brother.
Mhm.
And so I can ignore you hitting me because I understand you're frustrated and I'll voice that. I understand you're frustrated, but it's not okay to hurt me. And that's
Good.
usually what I say when she goes towards her brother too, but trying to figure out how to keep me in that calm state. So I'm going to try that breathing thing you just said.
Mhm.
But I don't know how to bring her down when she is so dysregulated. And yeah,
Mhm.
that's where I guess I'm looking for a few ideas.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so she's going to go through the entire, wave and then the decrescendo of the reaction that she has. And then she's going to go towards the first thing that she can to hurt and show that she's hurt. And if you can absorb her arrows and darts, and it's not effective, she's going to turn to her brother. Um, I I want you to be I I do think that it's important for you to intervene as a barrier or a shield between them. I do think that the quicker you get in and turn her shoulders away from him and move her in another direction or help him to move elsewhere. I don't know if you have another caregiver who can take care of him, but you pretty much have to be as non-reactive as possible in those situations because she is looking for more of a trauma reaction where she's going to get shamed and yelled at and he's going to and there's like such a adrenaline rush that kids are just used to and they're craving it. It's like an addiction. Um, but I wouldn't pile on more like, no, you're not allowed to hit your brother, that hurt him.
I
You
think the
go
other piece,
apologize. Yeah.
sorry, I guess the other piece I shouldn't, you said if there's another caregiver who can step in, I think that's part of the other problem. The other caregiver is the mom and she can't regulate herself most of the time. So she's the one that will also, like, while I'm trying to ignore or stay calm or whatever, all of a sudden she's jumping in with that fight mode.
Um,
And it's like, okay. And I've told everybody I can't handle both of them. I can regulate one or the other. I can't do them both at the same time. And I guess that's where some of it also issues. I have been able a little bit with my granddaughter to say to her, just go in the bathroom, calm down for a few minutes.
oh,
And then and sometimes she will, and then she'll call me in there screaming that I need to come in. She needs to talk to me.
oh,
Like,
that's great.
okay. So we're headed in some of the right direction, but there's still, I feel like when we're up here, I need to help her come down easier and I don't know how to do it.
Oh, you're saying you need to help the granddaughter because it's harder with the actual daughter to help direct her and help her to calm
Either
down.
one of them. So I can, the granddaughter just gets she's the one who gets more aggressive in the screaming and the throwing stuff and
Mhm.
because it's what was modeled at one point in time too, sometimes I think.
Well,
Um,
first of all, I want to say normalize it. A lot of times, sometimes kids are more able to be regulated and have more self-reflection skills than parents. So just put that out there. That's
okay.
um, Number two, is it okay with your daughter that in situations where your granddaughter is getting escalated, that you sort of take over and shepherd her to a different room, like the bathroom or her room? Is that okay with your daughter? Because I would ask her explicit
75% of
permission.
the time.
Okay, because that's really one of the only ways you have is to accept that you need to separate them and take, and commandeer the situation. So just move your granddaughter to another room and deal with it there. But
Okay.
you need to feel confident that you're allowed to do that. If your daughter is, you said 75% of the time. So otherwise your hands are tied.
Then I
Um,
just become a safety officer.
right,
It's really what it
exactly.
does.
And Karen, I mean, that's a really hard burden and it's a lot to absorb on your own physiology. And I really feel for you. Um, I think you want to, the mom really wants to hear from you. Um, you really are worried. You want to do the best you can. You want to give your child what maybe you weren't able to give before. Like that's really what she wants to hear, right?
Hmm.
You can't be her therapist, and I know that. Uh, but if you are ever able to give her any direction in terms of what um, she might be able to do, like take a time out herself and say that that's something that you can be really proud of that you've changed and taking a time out and just doing like this. To me, like in signaling, mom to you, like I need a timeout. It's because you're really trying and you're courageous um, to be able to have been able to change. And even if you change like 8 or 10%, that's amazing. So I think maybe you could try that and talk with her as well as saying, is it okay with you if I intervene sometimes when she's getting when the granddaughter's getting into it, for me to just shepherd her in a different room? I'm not trying to take away your authority. Um, it's just the primacy, the goal is always, always, always first not to get into an escalated argument slash aggression. Name calling, physical grabbing, yelling with mean faces, that's the thing that we have to reduce the most by
Hmm.
any means necessary. Yeah.
Okay. Just keep breathing. I'm gonna try that breathing thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. I support you. Thank you, Karen.
Hello. My
Hi,
name is Yasmin
Yasmin.
Gross. Hi. I'm a therapist at a probation center for youth, and I work with a lot of families that really struggle with with like lying, stealing, aggressive behaviors, progressed coping styles, and my main style is through like attachment, and through my work with the kiddos, the theme really is just um caregivers just like not meeting their child's emotional needs, really feeling neglected, uncared for, unwanted. And as you've said, every behavior has a reason behind it. And when I'm meeting with the parents, I am noticing a lot of personality traits, unprocessed trauma, defensiveness, and even anger, when I do tell them like, hey, your child can display a lot of these things, when we are working together in the room, they are opening up and saying these things. And then when I'm trying to then give them psychoeducation about, the negative impact of their parenting style, or even inquiring about their childhood and their parenting experiences, and what their life was like growing up. They're either, very resistant, placing blame, externalizing it, leaving the room, um, and just really, like just cannot see their child for who they are and the pain that they've put them through, or even trying to be open to parenting strategies to really
I
get
get
those
it.
needs met. And my question, since my program is really is only like 45 days to 60 in this court ordered, of like what
Aw,
I can do to really help these parents, or to like, somewhat hold them accountable, or even have them be accountable, for what they're doing, or even really just consider, that some of
yeah,
what they are doing is contributing to their child, and the
yeah,
system doesn't really hold the parents accountable, for not doing the program. So I don't really know
sure.
what to do.
I appreciate that was like in 60 seconds an expose of what, child welfare workers are dealing with. Like 90% of the time, it's a very, very painful situation that you're in. And thank you, Yasmin. So, in order to have any chance to work with these parents, there's 3 questions that I would start with. Okay. The first one is to say, tell me about all the things that you've already done to try to help your child. And listen to them with intense appreciation when they say, I have, um, I have given up my home for the child. I have left my partner for this child. I have taken a second job for this child. I have showed up to the school for them. I have stayed up with them at night. If they can't list it, you list it. I want you to hear all the things that they've already done as far as because social workers that they've met with so far have not seen that. And you are just another one of the child welfare, long line of child welfare workers and social workers who are coming at them with demands, and nobody's seen the 99 things that they've done for their kid. So you can start with that. Okay. Number two, you can say, what have you been able to give to your child that you didn't get yourself? And they will tell you that their life was hell, and their parents beat them, and their dad died of overdose, and they were sexually molested by their uncle, and the things that they went through, their child is so much better off. That's what they're going to say. And you want to tell them, oh my gosh, you're a hero. You are a hero. You have done so much to change the story. Okay. And then the next question is, if I could wave a magic wand and we could make the picture of your relationship so much better with your child, what kind of relationship would you have with them? And when you do that, they'll say, of course, they'll start with, I want him to respect me. I want him to follow the rules, but they're also going to say, I want to have closeness. I want to be able to have him, come to me, or I want him to be able to like come back for Christmas when he's when he's done with high school, and then, that he'll still talk to me, and that we won't have the same kind of relationship with my parents where whatever, blah, blah, blah. You are going to be able to get to their wishes and their tenderness. And that's where you have to start. And that's where you have to start, because if you don't show them how much you admire them and how much you see them as a person first, they will not be influenced by you, and they'll just be defensive. From there, you could go into, because of that, then you might be able to say, what have you already tried to get your child to, not be a truant at school, or whatever the behavior issues are, because there's always behavior issues. And once again, say you've tried a lot of things. And you're always going to say, I see what you wish for your child, that you want good things for them, and I do too. I do too. I see that. Then you can say, my fear is by trying the same things over again, it's going to get the same negative results, and you don't have time to waste. You don't have the time to waste. You don't have the time. So I'm wondering if you'd be open to considering new techniques. It's up to you. It's up to you. I can't convince you that you need to be part of the change process, or that part of it has to be a relational issue, but I'm just letting you know that the success comes when we look at it relationally and when you are able to see some of your part. So I have to ask you to change somewhat if things are going to improve between you two. Yeah, so starting with those 3 questions and taking the time to really listen to them as a human in their journey through those questions can help soften those defenses.
Thank you so much. That is so, so helpful. And I am so hoping that, that they will respond better with this. Like I have noticed when I go the more like empathic route first, it's usually more productive. My other question with that, and I'm really sorry for taking up time, is what happens when we do this and then the response is no, I don't want to, or I'm exhausted, I'm 70 years old, all of these things, which is quite often. What would then be like my next step with them?
Well, I was going to say this before, Yasmin. I mean, what I just told you to do with the 3 questions, it's only going to work um, less than, 50% of the time. So there are people who are going to say no. Um, and I'm not sure that there's anything I think that you would do with that family in terms of working with the parent and child together if they don't want the help. The sadness that you have to deal with is something that is really something for you to be able to like accept and I mean, it's like the kind of like the serenity prayer of AA, like, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change and change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And you have to kind of move on. Um, you're going to be working with a child maybe, but not with that grandparent or whoever is so burned out. Yeah.
We have
Thank
time
you.
for we have time for 1 or maybe 2 more questions.
Okay.
Jen
Thanks.
is
Thanks,
next, but
Yasmin.
Jen is next, and she's going to just use audio, no video.
Okie doke. Hi, Jen.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
You might want to get a little closer to the mic.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I have a 3-year-old boy, absolutely loving, and he's learning how to behave. See it every day with his little sister. You just teach him, okay, this is what she needs, and then he doesn't need to get upset whenever she doesn't respond the way he expects her to. So, um, but the problem is, whenever he escalates really, really quickly in his anger, it tends to get to a point where he hits me or throws things at me. And I don't know how to teach him not to do that from an attachments perspective.
Mhm.
He has a loving father who is capable of being authoritative with him. That has always been hard for me because I don't know what that looks like. I never experienced it myself. Um, and um, what he does, it ends up being him rescuing me, or um, sometimes even rescuing the boy because I don't know what else I can do for him.
Are you talking
So,
about that his father comes and rescues?
yeah,
I
I
see.
don't know what that does to my relationship with my boy or our attachment style. I mean, yeah,
Okay.
and I don't know if that's the best thing to do. but it does seem to be working for him, for my son. He's
Well,
very close
okay.
to his father now.
There's no, so you're, one of the things that I highlight is you said you don't know what that looks like. So I'm assuming that you had some parenting that was much more authoritarian or aggressive or frightening.
More like neglecting.
Oh, neglecting.
I
Yeah, the other
needed
side.
it myself.
I see, I see. Okay. So what I would, Jen, there's nothing wrong with the other partner coming in and saying, hold on a second, guys, I'm going to swoop in and I'm going to organize this for you and take the kid away. That is so common and is very, very, it has very not necessarily has not necessarily having to do with the fact that you had a more neglectful upbringing. Many couples have that because it's just a personality thing. It's a mom, it's a gender thing. It's whoever stays home with the child more. It's so just be aware that you could be attributing it to your attachment, but that it's okay. Um, if it's stayed that way as a pattern for the majority of your son's life, then I would say that is an issue. And you're saying you don't know how to do it because it wasn't modeled for you. When he is upset, what I would, and don't answer me now because we don't have enough time to get into this, but I do want you to have confidence that you can get through this and be able to teach yourself um, to be a more confident leader in the interaction, even though you didn't get it of yourself. But what are you saying to yourself? These are the questions. What are you saying to yourself about yourself when he's hitting you or throwing something at you or having a tantrum? There's an inner voice that says, I'm going to die. I can't do this. I'm a no good, rotten parent. You have to listen and become aware of that inner voice. Okay, and listen to it with compassion because that's just a physiologic response, that voice. There's nothing wrong with it. Then I want you to give a message of self-compassion, which is I can get through this. Or something like I can show up for my son. Or I'm good enough. I have what it takes. That's the kind of dialogue I want you to have inside right here. Okay. And then I want you to be able to embody and you might have to work on this with the therapist, but something where you're, as I told you, when you turn to the side and you erect your spine and you take your hands and you make an elbow, a nice firm elbow, 90 degrees here, and have this. If he's coming at you throwing something, you can handle it and you can turn him to face the other direction. You can shuffle him along to the kitchen where you get him an ice cube and ask and put one in your mouth or put one in a bowl for him or tell him to look out the window and open a window or distract him with some other sensory thing. And if you're able to do that for just a few more percentages of the time with him, or even a few more percentages of one interaction with him, consider that a gain, a win, an achievement, and that you can build on that. Okay. So staying with yourself and getting through this dysregulation, it's really something that you learn over time and and that I believe that you can do it.
All right. So focus more on my personal regulation and focus more on the child version of emotional regulation, teaching him those.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can handle if he hits you or if he throws something at you because you have presence. You have presence. You are not afraid. You are capable. You can shepherd him. You can get through this with him. And I'm looking for you yourself are going to look for really small gains.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think then of like blocking a punch or
Of
um,
course. Oh,
diverting it or
yes, of course. That's
okay.
not that's there's nothing you said like how do I deal with aggression from an attachment perspective?
Yeah.
by holding a kid's hand and wrist and turning them around and saying, no hurts, I'm not going to hurt you and I'm not going to let you hurt me, with firmness, and then turn him around and shuffle him in another direction. But you stop. You absolutely stop a punch. Grab his fist and do it with firmness. I want him to feel your presence. Yeah.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you. I was feeling bad about that, so thank you.
Oh, sure.
Thank you, Jen. Daphna, thank you so much. This has been such an informative and inspiring session. We appreciate you so much. Thank you to our audience. TRF is committed to bringing you quality community programming for free. Come back to another session. Thanks to our volunteers for all the excellent questions. Apologies to all that we weren't able to get to. The recording of this session is available on the website at Trauma Research Foundation. Just look for Inspired Parenting. Thanks, everyone. We hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thanks.